Having to cook every day as an adult, especially if you're someone who's busy, is like living paycheck to paycheck. Because just like when you're paycheck to paycheck, your bills won't get paid if that next paycheck doesn't hit. If you don't cook your next meal, you're not gonna eat unless, you order takeout. And don't even get me started on ordering out in this economy. See, the thing is, there is a common ground between the two things, is that you constantly have to be on the go to make the result happen. To get that next paycheck, you need to go to work. To eat that next meal, you need to get your butt in the kitchen and, cook your food. And it's stressful because in both cases, you constantly have to make decisions. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you get paid, pay your bills, but all of a sudden the next bills are due and the money's already gone and you have to go work for that next paycheck. Cooking can feel exactly the same. You wake up, you make breakfast, and then you have to think about what's for lunch. Maybe you go to work, you buy lunch, or you pack something for lunch, so you eat that. But then when you get home, you have to make dinner. If you work a soul-sucking job, I know that the last thing you want to do when you get home is stand in the kitchen for hours to make dinner. So what do? You end up ordering out, or you end up buying cheap processed food. And I'm not judging. Because, hey, I was tired the other day. I did not feel like cooking whatsoever. So I just dropped by Burger King and I got something to eat. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to pretend to be perfect and that I cook at home 100% of the time, because I do not. I'm just being real. When you have to cook every day, you have to think about breakfast, lunch, dinner, and like everything in between. And oh my god, if you're a parent or a spouse or someone who takes care of other relatives, you not only have to think about those things for yourself, but also for everybody else. So it is tiring. I remember how tiring it was when I was trying to cook every day. That's the fastest way to burn out. And if you're someone who's new to cooking, that is the fastest way to quit, because there is no way. That is so discouraging. That is so tiring that I wouldn't blame you if you said, I never want to do this ever again, because I can't. I can't. It's not that cooking every day is hard. It's the whole process that you have to go through to cook every day. You have to find the money, go to the grocery store, get the ingredients you need, and then you have to come home and, get everything together, pull out the recipe if you're using one, make the meal, and then you have to do the dishes or, put them in the dishwasher if you have one. And you still have to find time to decompress and recompose yourself after the day. You have to think about what you're going to eat for breakfast tomorrow, and then you have to wake up and make it. I am tired just thinking about it. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, what makes having to cook every day not only physically but also mentally and emotionally tiring is the decision fatigue. Because you constantly have to think about your next meal, constantly have to find the time to actually make the meals. And I'm not going to sit here to say that cooking is not frustrating sometimes, that it doesn't take time, because it does. Some meals take forever to make. That's why it's important to have go-to simple meals that you can make on those days that everything's going south and you really don't feel like cooking. That's for another video. And I want to acknowledge that for some people, that's the life that they have. Some people, they go out and make money on a daily basis and they are actually living paycheck to paycheck. So they can't always plan for the next meal. They have to cook on a daily basis because they don't have extra money to buy extra groceries to, stock that for days or weeks on end. If that's your situation, that doesn't really apply to you. You do what you can with what you have, okay? Keep going. I'm rooting for you. Hopefully, one day you can get out of this stressful situation of not knowing where your next meal is going to come from, having some money saved so you can, instead of having to cook every day, maybe you can cook every other day, every 3 days, and maybe one day you get to a point where you can cook on every 4 days on a weekly basis. But if you're in a situation where you get paid weekly and you're able to buy your food ahead of time, I really want to encourage you to plan your meals and batch cook, because that's going to save you so much time and money in the long run, especially if you are someone who is busy, because I know meal planning and batch cooking have saved saved me so much time and money over the past year because I work full time. I'm also in school, but I still want to make time for friends, family, and my own hobbies, like actually enjoying life, not just existing. Planning my meals and batch cooking allow me to save time every day. Instead of coming home and having to cook dinner, I come home, pull my food out of the fridge, warm it up, I eat, and then I have all that time I would have spent cooking to do whatever I want, whatever I have to do for that day, whether that's, doing some task or just chilling, like watching a movie and just decompressing. Another reason why I think a lot of people burn out from cooking is that they think that once they start cooking at home, they can only eat home cooked meals. First of all, let's throw that perfectionism out the window, please and thank you, because that's not how real life works, okay? Some weeks I don't feel like cooking at all. And what I will do is I will go to my favorite places and get whatever I need to get. That's why I recommend having a go-to list, or at least know your go-to places and your go-to items on that menu so you can quickly decide, okay, I don't feel like cooking today, or I don't feel like cooking this week. For lunch, I'm gonna go to this place. I'm gonna get that from the menu. I know I can afford it, and I know it's not gonna mess up my health goals. I actually have a video on how to balance home cooking and ordering out. I'll link it somewhere up here. Feel free to go watch that after this video, of course. I think it's really helpful because it's real life. I mean, if you want to cook at home 100% of the time, you have the energy, you have the money, you have the time for it, hey, be my guest. Go for it. I'm just saying, for most people, that's not the reality. And instead of feeling guilty about eating out when you have to or when you want to, it's better to take into account that, hey, I actually might need to do that from time to time to keep my sanity. Anyways, instead of working harder as far as constantly having to decide what to cook, when you're gonna cook it, how long it's gonna take, I really recommend you focus on 3 things. 1, meal planning, which is different from meal prepping. Meal planning is just sitting down and figure out what you're gonna eat and what you need to make those meals happen. Number 2 is repeat meals. Like I mentioned earlier, having a list of go-to meals that you know how to make and you actually enjoy eating those meals, because you're gonna be really upset if you get home from work and you make a meal, you're hungry, you're tired, and it doesn't turn out how you want it. It's either unedible, you use too much salt, or it just doesn't turn out like you wanted it, and now you're even more upset. Yeah, so it's really important to have a list of meals you actually enjoy and know how to make for those days to, so they can, come to your rescue. And then the third thing is what I was talking about earlier, balancing takeout. If you don't feel like cooking and you can go get takeout, as long as it's not gonna destroy your health or your pockets, do it. As someone who cooks at home on a weekly basis, most weeks I would say, because sometimes, my mom makes me food for like a week or 2, even 3 weeks sometimes, and I don't have to cook during those weeks, and it's so good not having to do it. So I totally understand not wanting to do it all the time, and it's totally okay to not want to do it all the time. Just because you know how to cook doesn't mean you have to cook all the time. If you have someone in your life, whether that's a parent, a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and they cook for you, you better be appreciative of that, because cooking, it takes time, it takes effort. They literally pour their blood, sweat, and tears. Hopefully not, but they put a lot of effort into it, so be appreciative. Anyways, cooking every day can feel exhausting, and not wanting to do it does not make you a bad cook. The goal isn't to cook every day or to cook every meal. The goal is to have a sustainable cooking journey, especially as a beginner, because that's what's gonna make you want to keep going. That's what's gonna make you want to improve, because if you're discouraged, you're not gonna want to keep going. And yeah, it's a really good skill to have. So I would much rather you cook, I don't know, on a weekly basis, or you cook 3 days out of the week and then you figure out whatever you can the other days, and you do that consistently over time, and you know, it changes with your lifestyle or whatever is going on in your life at that point, instead of you giving up altogether and be like, I'm never cooking again because this is too hard, it's exhausting, I don't want to do that. Build a routine that you can actually stick with. And if you're someone who usually struggles to decide what's for dinner, I have the perfect video for you. It's this one right here, where I give you a simple 3-step formula to quickly decide what to cook for dinner. Okay? I'll see you there. Bye for now.